Remember, our first step, determine what is your X. In this case, is the number of uniforms. Dependent, your Y is total cost. Remember, cost is usually your Y. Since both the uniforms and cost is going up, the slope is positive. We're going to use the slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 to find our slope. So x is our independent, and dependent is y. Which one of these variables, cost of tickets or the number of people, is our x? Which one's our x, the independent? 7 people, correct. Okay, 7 people, the number of people is our x. So what is our y? Okay, so number of people is our x. Cost is our y. Okay, rate of change. What does rate of change mean? We gotta find. That's another vocabulary term. What is rate of change another term for? Remember all the different words we have for this one term, depending on the context? Begins with the S, people. Slope. You guys got too long your vocabulary. Rate of change is your slope. Again, they don't give us a graph, so how are we going to find our slope? Okay. The formula, what is the formula? Any questions about the formula? So once we plug in the y's on top, the x's on the bottom, we get 12 over 2, which equals $6. Our slope is $6. Any questions? What vocabulary words do we need to circle that's in this word problem that we need to know the meaning of? Okay? We need to know varies directly. What else? What else is important up there? Okay, distance is D. What else? T is time. Say again? Okay, that's what you got to find. What is the equation that relates to and T? Okay, what is the graph? Okay, what else is important? A 20 miles and 1.25 hours. Okay. Varies directly. That should ring a bell to you. Because that's another phrase for slope. Remember, one of the phrases was direct variation. So we're still dealing with slope. What are the two things this problem is talking about? Time and distance. So one of them is going to be our independent, and the other one's going to be our dependent. So you are biking, and you distance and time. How are they related? Is the total amount of distance dependent on your time, or is your time dependent on your distance? Okay, distance is dependent upon time. So who's your X? Time, very good. And who's your Y? Distance. Distance is dependent upon time. Alright, the formula. Okay, that's the slope formula. But they want us to do a formula that relates distance and time. This comes from science.
Oh yeah.
What's the formula that relates distance and time? Okay, distance equals what in time? Speed in time or rate in time. How fast you going? Speed in time. Which of those two do they give us?
They give us the time and the distance.
They give us the time and distance. Do they give us a rate?
No.
How are you going to find out your rate though?
Divide 18.2 by 1.25.
Excellent. Yeah, some folks use S, some use T. Okay? So our rate equals 18.2 miles divided by 1.25 hours. That gives us 14.56 miles per hour.
So we're going to multiply that by.
Okay? So now we're going to use that for our formula. Okay? So distance equals 14.56 times T. That is your formula that relates D and T. Any questions there? All right, the next step is the graphing. Okay? Now, yesterday we did the slope-intercept form. Last week we did the table method. Now remember, slope-intercept form says you can take your slope, count up and to the right. Is it easy to count 14.56 up and 1 to the right?
No.
No. So you're probably not going to want to use the slope-intercept method. You're going to want to set up a table. Any questions there? What numbers are we not going to use for time? 0 or
1.
we could use 1 because we could do 1 hour. Negatives. We do not use negative numbers for time at all. Everybody gets that? Now if you want to, you can use 0, but 0 times 6 is still going to give you 0, okay? So if you want to use 0, that's fine, okay? In 1 hour, we went how far? 14.56. Okay? In 2 hours, how far will we go? multiply times 2, that's 29.12, and so on. Now, on your computer, how many points do you really need? 2. Any questions there? So you only need 2 to graph on a computer. So on the EOC, you only need 2 points. Now, if this was the paper EOG test, how many points should you have? About 5, 4 or 5, to make sure your line is straight. Any questions?
What is that right there,
29.12. All right, tell whether the two quantities vary directly. Explain your reasoning. The fuel economy of a car and the amount of fuel needed for it to travel a certain distance. Okay, now you got to understand what fuel economy of a car means. Okay? Is there anyone in here who is crystal clear about fuel economy? Hold it.
Isn't it how far you can get on a gallon?
Thank you. It's how far you can get on the gallon of gas. Some cars have very low fuel economy. You can only get 12 miles per gallon, usually pickup trucks. The little compact cars, you can get up to 45, 50 miles per gallon. Okay?
Is that right across from
Which ones?
the
Yes, somewhat. Alright, so let's talk about what happens. When you have your fuel economy and it goes up. So let's say your first car is an old beat up pickup truck that only gets 8 miles per gallon. You save up money, you buy yourself a little sedan that gets 30 miles per gallon. Your fuel economy just went up. Okay? Is the amount of gas you're going to need to get to a place going to go up or down? Down. Okay? Now you need less gas. Since these two are going in opposite directions, do they vary directly with each other?
Yes. No.
No. Right. One's going opposite than the other. So it's not. So it's not a direct variation. Now, Chris did mention it's a negative slope, and it is a negative slope. But it's not a direct variation. Direct variation means as one goes up, the other one goes up. As one comes down, the other one comes down. They both have to go in the same direction at the same rate. Any questions there? Okay, important vocabulary. Okay? We have to come up with a linear equation in slope-intercept form. Not standard, not slope point, slope-intercept form. Okay, then find the slope and the y-intercept. What does it represent? Okay? What does it represent? Okay, let's talk about the y-intercept first. Y-intercept. You already know that the form is y equals mx plus b. And b is your y-intercept. Now, as far as a table or a point is concerned, what is always the first number of the y-intercept?
0.
Thank you. Second number can be any number. So it's always 0, comma something. Which variable is this 0? Is it x or y?
X.
It is x. So X has to be 0. Now let's look at this table. Table's time worked is your X, wages earned is your Y. If you work 0 hours, how much money are you going to earn?
$0.
Okay, so our y-intercept in this case is 0, 0. So our b is 0. Okay, now we got to find our slope. Okay? Our slope. Again, they give us a table, no graph. So what are we going to use to find the slope? What's the formula, folks? Okay. M equals, okay, remember that's the form, we need the formula. How do we find slope? Okay. Now, we can use any points we want. We just got to pick 2 of them off the table. Any 2 points we want. Which point appeals to you? Okay, let's do the one with X is 1. What's the other one that appeals here? 6? Okay. Alright, so what is our Y's in these 2? What's our Y's?
11, 69.
Okay, so we're going to do, to make the subtraction easier, we're going to do 69 minus 1150 over, what's our X's?
103 points. 103.50.
No, we picked these Y's, so we got to pick the right X's. 1 and 6, so we got 6 minus 1. Okay? Now we're going to subtract. Okay, 69 minus 1150 is 5750. 6 minus 1 is 5. And when we divide, we get 1150. That's our slope. Okay? Alright. If our slope is 1150, and our y-intercept is 0, how are we going to write this as an equation in slope-intercept form? Okay. Plus 0, but remember we got to simplify. So we're just going to leave it as y equals, right, 11.5x. Okay? Any questions there? So looking at the table and looking at our slope and y-intercept, what does our slope mean? If our table is about time worked and wages earned, what's our slope mean? If you work 1 hour and you get paid $11.50, and you work 3 hours and you get paid $34.50, 6 hours equals 69, 9 hours equals 103.50. What does the 1150 stand for? Say that again? How much money you earn per hour. Okay? This is your money per hour. If your y-intercept is 0, what does that mean? Say that again? You didn't work. That's right. You didn't earn any money. Your starting pay is 0 until you show up to work. If you don't show up to work, you getting paid nothing.
So it's like when I go to school, I don't learn that.
Bingo.
It's on go to
What Chris said is right. First, we got to figure out how does the altitude, the number of feet up in the air, affect boiling points. Then we got to come up with an equation. Then we're going to use the equation to tell us where the liquid boils at 2,700 feet. So, first, going to circle the vocabulary that you need to know. Linear. That means y equals mx plus b. You have the altitude of 8,600 feet. And the boiling point there is at 205.68. Then you have another altitude of 4,100. And the liquid boils at 211.08. We have to write an equation
What?
in terms of B and A. And then we got to find the boiling point of the liquid, 2,700 feet. All right. It may be easier to see this information in a table. Okay? All right. Let's talk about this. All right? Who's the independent? Who's the dependent? Does temperature depend on height, or does height depend on temperature? Okay, temperature depends on height. So it means your height is your x. And your temperature is the y. Okay? So, the first height they give us is 8,600, and it boils at 205.68. The next one is 4,100, and it boils at 211.08. Okay? So let's talk about this. Is height going up or down? Down. Is temperature going up or down? Up. If one's going up and one's going down, what type of slope is this going to be? Negative slope. Automatically, we know this is negative. Okay? Okay. How are we going to find the exact slope? That's right. We're going to use the slope formula. Okay? So slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we will know we plug in the numbers right because we already said we have to get a negative slope. Okay? So 205.68 minus 211.08 over 8,600 minus 4,100. Okay?